welcome everybody. Our webinar this afternoon is on school greenhouses. I am recording it. Alberta Food Matters will post the recording to our Facebook page and also to our YouTube channel in case you want to share it or see it again. I'd like to make a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are on traditional territories in Alberta of many First Nations, Métis and Inuit, whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. I am going to briefly introduce our speakers to begin with, and then as they come up to present, they will give a more full, they will give attendees their background. And we will hear from all of the presenters, and then hopefully have about 10 to 15 minutes at the end for a Q&A with the presenters. And hopefully we'll be closing the webinar at 5 p.m. Our first speaker is going to be Steve Schultz from Lacombe, then Sophia Lobo, who is from St. Oscar Romero High School in Edmonton, then Scott McMillan, who is from WP Wagner in Edmonton, and then Dustin Bajer, who is with Sustainable Food Edmonton. Welcome to our speakers, and thank you very much for giving your time and sharing your expertise with everyone. Steve, if you want to go, it's all yours.
Hello, my name is Steve. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I'm a teacher at Lacombe Composite High School, and I run an environmental club called EcoVision. EcoVision has been running for about 17 years. Today, I'm just going to be focusing in on one of our projects, the geodesic greenhouse. About 11, 12 years ago, we had a fire at the roof of our school, and believe it or not, the roof is what inspired our students to build a greenhouse. What happened is that we gave all our staff a spider plant, and it changed the atmosphere of our school. So then what happened is, out of the ashes we will rise, of our students adopted, and they started researching and fundraising. Now, our greenhouse is really unique in the sense that it is a geodesic greenhouse. It is almost net zero. It is tropical. And by net zero means that we do not require fossil fuel use until it gets to be minus 30. And people aren't entering and exiting the greenhouse. Inside our greenhouse, I will show you the 7 unique features of our greenhouse. And then after that, we'll show you our aquaponics system that we use to currently raise 300 tilapia and grow tomatoes and other vegetables. And then after that, we will kind of share our website and highlight a few of our other projects that we have going around the school, and give you my email and our website so you can contact me further if you have further questions. I'd like to acknowledge Taylor Perez. She's one of my students who's holding the camera for us during the tour. So you can see in front of us geodesic greenhouse. We'll walk through the doors. And we'll start with the most exciting thing. As you walk into the greenhouse, you'll see that we are growing tropical plants. We have tomatoes, lemons, pineapples, tomatoes, peppers, and then we grow herbs all year round and use those herbs for our micro businesses with different restaurants and different pharmacies throughout the local central Alberta area. One of the most unique features of our greenhouse, there's going to be 7 of them, is this big, huge pond. What's amazing about this pond is that it is heated by some evacuated tubes outside, so it acts like a heat sink. But we've multi-purposed this pond, and we now are raising 300 tilapia, and I'm going to feed them so you can actually see them jumping out of the water and eating their food. So we'll be harvesting these tilapia every other Wednesday for the next little while. So the fish poop from the tilapia go and feed our aquaponics or hydroponic system. We have a 4.5-year-old tomato that produces tomatoes every week throughout the whole year. We also have a second unique feature on this north side of the greenhouse. It's a reflex unit, and that reflex unit sends the winter sun and bounces it into the tank. The shape of the greenhouse is unique, and the panels that the greenhouse is made out of are polycarbonate panels. And what's really unique about these polycarbonate panels is they're 5 layers thick, and that increases the insulation value of this greenhouse. The third unique feature of the greenhouse is underground. We have these big, huge black tubes that draw warm, moist air and suck it underground through 1,400 linear feet of tubes. And the tubes have holes in them, which allow the earth to absorb the heat. And then in the winter nights, that fan is reversed and the air gets brought back up into the greenhouse. The next unique feature is actually on the roof of the greenhouse. We have vents that are operated with beeswax. The vents operate by beeswax and close and open depending on temperature. We got that technology out of Israel. Another unique feature is our greenhouse is earth-based. So we have styrofoam insulation that keeps the frost from coming into our climate battery, which I just described briefly before. Another unique feature of this greenhouse is that it is designed to capture the sun no matter what position the sun is in. We have fans that are operated by thermostats, and you can see that a whole class can fit in here. Like I said before, we grow food all year round for our restaurants, and Taylor is actually in charge of our micro business that we run. I'm missing something and I don't know what it is, but those are the highlights of our greenhouse. And gonna quickly let you know about a couple other projects we have on the go. So we raise bees, we have 2 acres of gardens. We just introduced goats with an animal husbandry program, and we're now busy building an indigenous plant garden called the Epic Garden. Stands for Educational Pollinator Indigenous Carbon Capture. So if you're interested in any of those things, LCHS ECOVISION or lchsecovision.weebly.com, or you can email me. I'm sure my email will be on the chat, stephen.schultz@wolfcreek.ab.ca. I hope that was what you were expecting, Wanda. If there's anything that I missed, can you please let me know?
I think it's a very good idea for me to share your email. Really, I know that there are quite a few videos of Steve and different things that they do at Lacombe. So if you go onto that website, but Steve, it's steve.schultz@Wolf Creek.
Stephen.schultz@wolf.ab.ca. And I'm really proud of my students. One of the things I didn't mention is all our projects are decided by students, dreamed by students, fundraised, researched, and then actually built and run by the students after they're built. My responsibility is to facilitate dreams and provide the resources for the projects to come to life, and then to create curriculum. So what we've been able to do is create a robust curriculum around the greenhouse. If anybody's interested in that, we have Ag 10, 20, and 30 courses. And then we also run a green certificate greenhouse program utilizing the greenhouse. And then also our food products get introduced into the kitchen. 30-40% of produce that we produce in here goes to the kitchen. The other 60% gets sold at farmers markets or on our online store. You can find our online store on our website as well, lchsecovision.weebly.com. I think I covered all the missing pieces. And again, a big, huge shout out to Taylor again for taking time after school to help me put on this for you.
Somebody with a dog is taking over. Is that Taylor?
What?
Oh, that's Cynthia. No, that's not.
Oh, yeah, someone named Cynthia, because I saw the picture as well.
I will say, Steve put us in touch with one of his students, his former student, Sneha, who's gone off to Lethbridge University, and she was our summer student for the year, and she was selling at the farmers market, and that was her passion. It's amazing, Steve. The kids are just really passionate about it. That's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
talk about greenhouses at school gardens.
We don't have school garden.
Pardon?
Okay, thank you, Steve. And we will move on to Sophia from from St. Oscar Romero High School. Way you go, Sophia.
Sounds good. Hi, I'm Sophia Lobo. I'm a teacher at St. Oscar Romero High School. Our project here at our school with Edmonton Catholic Division is really new. So we just kind of started getting this off the ground in June, was kind of like our planning stages, and worked a little bit over the summer to kind of get everything we needed to get our project off the ground. So we're kind of in the beginning stages, and I have a little bit of a presentation just for pictures, for visuals to go with where we're at. So it is really early, and I'm really excited to share where we are right now. Let me just share that screen. Does that work? So we have a few different components to our project, and one of them is our worm composting. So we're working with Annalita and we've started with our foods classes to have worms start breaking down some of our food products. We were trying out, the kids are running it, they're prepping everything, they're going to be running the food through the food processor to make it nice and small for the worms to be able to consume, and with the hopes that in a few months we'll start having some compost ready to add to our greenhouses and to our garden boxes. So then all of the food that's would normally be waste in our classes are now going to be repurposed. The other part we've just started, and this is only maybe a month old, is we've kind of started a little bit of a hydroponic system with some help from Hydrolite. So they are just flood and drain trays that are getting pumped through, and we're still trying to figure out getting that working. And our students are really excited about this process. And the hopes is that we can grow a lot of herbs and lettuces and kale and other stuff in this kind of system for our foods classes and some of our inclusion classes to be able to use. We also do want to get to a bigger plant concept as well, but we're not there yet. We're still starting that process. Then we have garden boxes. So this is where a big chunk of our time is being spent right now in our construction classes and our fabrication classes there. They've been assembling and building garden boxes. These designs come from a former student that graduated from our school who is a welder and has designed these planter boxes and is helping our students build them. And the hopes is that we're going to be placing 12 of these boxes around this labyrinth that already exists and kind of making it into a sundial, and then having it as an outdoor classroom as well, with different soil pHs in the different garden boxes and different types of plants for students to be able to experiment growing in different environments. And we have 3 greenhouses. They're 7x12 greenhouses that 2 of which were assembled by my own greenhouse who delivered them, and they will have indoor planting. One we've already started planting, which I'll show you in a minute here. And the third one, our fabrication classes actually we're building. So these are all been built into their curriculum, and they're benefiting in building something that would be outside of their normal assignments. So what we have right now inside the 3, this first image is the base is just going to be gravel, and it leaves room for some hanging baskets on rods that will be put up when our students finish building it, and put some pots and planters with thyme in there in the spring. The middle one has a couple shelves on one side, and we're going to be setting it up for in-ground planting. And we have one already where we're planting a few things to start growing this fall, and it's going really well. We have our inclusion students that are maintaining it and looking after the greenhouse and making sure it's watered every day and making sure that the plants are doing well and the temperature is good and all of those kinds of things. So we are just starting, and it's very, very early in our process. I just took a rooftop picture today to kind of show what the overall space is. So we did have to fence off the area because we have a little bit of worry in our neighborhood about some of our students' hard work getting lifted over the summer or being taken over. So we wanted to make sure that any work that our students put in here can be a little bit protected. This also gives us a safe space to have an outdoor classroom and for classes to be out there for all kinds of purposes. We will be setting up a 3-stage composting system outside, as we want to push our whole school into composting and kind of separating their lunches and learning that kind of stuff. We're already doing it now, fortunately, in Edmonton, finally in Edmonton, at home in our residences, but that's not something that schools are doing at this point. And so we're hoping that we can find a system that works and hopefully share that across our division with time. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. So it's still pretty early, but we're getting there.
So I should have asked of Steve, but Sophia, because it's new, did you access grants from like federal grants or provincial grants for these, or is this just the school is paying for it?
So at this point, our division supported this. I made a proposal with our division, and because of the curricular ties that we were able to pull together between science and our CTS courses and our inclusion students, and providing work experience for our inclusion students, our division wanted to provide some initial support to get this off the ground, but I will be looking into grants to kind of enhance the project as we go here over the next bit.
All right. So I'll pass it over to Scott now. If you, Scott from WP Wagner, if you could introduce yourself a bit, please.
Yeah, hi, my name is Scott McMillan. I'm from WP Wagner High School, and I'm just leaving my classroom right now. I should be safe. No one's around. I don't need to wear a mask. I'm just going to head outside first so you can see what it looks like from the outside. In here since the I don't know, I would say probably when the school was built. It did burn down. I'm just going to switch my camera here. I think I can do that. How do I do that? Right there. Okay, so this greenhouse has been here for a long time, but it burned down in the 80s and they rebuilt it to be a little bit bigger. So it's about 5,000 square feet. And I'll just take you in and show you what we're doing in there. So I run a class here called Natural Science. Used to be called horticulture and also used to be called agriculture back in the old days. But so we have some shrubs here. These are some blueberries we're going to get in the ground next week. So we're in the head house right now. We're drying up some seed pods there to plant some nice flowers in our greenhouse right away. Actually, this is a little peek of some of our hot peppers, but I got a lot more I'm going to show you here right away. So as we first walk into the greenhouse here, we got, this is the, I turn off the fans here as I go so it's not as loud. So this first greenhouse, kind of like our show greenhouse, got a kind of our established plants, and yeah, so you can see there's some quite old plants here, some money trees and stuff that have even been braided. So again, you can see I've only been in this program myself for 4 years. This is I'm just entering my 4th year now into this program. It went through quite a few teacher changes just before I got here. So just trying to, in a way, almost reestablish this program. Quite a few students had come in and out because of the teacher changes, and just feeling like I'm putting my stamp on this program now. So yeah, we just maintain the plants here. As I get into the next greenhouse, this is the nursery. And so this is where we just got these plants donated to us today. I don't even know what that is. If someone knows what that is, put it in the chat. But so you can, students, this is just some seeds we started back. And then this is one of our big things we're working on right now. A previous student of mine, when he left the program, as his mom said, I created a monster, and this is what he does now, is he does hot peppers. And so he donated a lot of these, but then some of these also have been now propagated by my students. And so, yeah, we got, I mean, all sorts of hot peppers here. I mean, this is obviously just a bell pepper plant that's just growing in a Kratky system right now. So, I mean, it's pretty amazing. Like this one's probably going on, I want to say probably 4 years old. And yeah, so it's really happy. My students are just constantly filling that bucket with solution. Some of the peppers here we have the Carolina Reaper, which the hottest that a jalapeno gets on the Scoville, I think, is about an 80,000. And so you can imagine how hot a jalapeno is. But then these ones run at about 2 million. And I'm just noticing that there's some bugs on this that my students did not tell me about. So I'm going to have to take care of that. That's always a big part of it, is bugs. I just noticed there's some bugs there. So we'll have to get on that right away and get these bugs taken care of. So the other things we do in this, we have a little tiny right now. This is our carnivorous plant section here. So we've got these guys. They kind of took a hit after summer. Of course, no one's here over summer, and we kind of rely on the custodians and things like that. So then sometimes we have to do some emergency repairs when we get to these plants when we get back in the fall. Here's our pitcher plants. And then we've got some orchids. I know if anybody that grows orchids, you're going to think that's probably a horror show right there. But we admittedly are just starting an orchid club right now. And in fact, we just had Dave Nixon from the Orchid Species Preservation Foundation from Edmonton come in and give his first presentation to the students today. And then the goal is with that is to find the keen students who are interested in orchid growth and take that on a little bit further and maybe start an orchid club of our own. And these obviously right now, if you know anything about orchids, these need to be repotted years ago. So we need to repot these, split these up, and get them going. I just haven't had time to dedicate to this. I do not teach this program full time. In fact, this semester I only have one class of it. The rest of my classes are just regular science. So I'm very limited in the amount of extra time I can spend here. So I would really love to be in this program full time is my goal. So that's what I'm trying to do, is build up the program right now. Tons and tons of snake plants. All of these have been propagated by my students. So we started off with just a few of these snake plants, and we've just been continually growing more and more and more and more. And then so that's our middle greenhouse. Let's turn that fan off again. In our final greenhouse, which is our biggest one, we've got our succulent collection here. All sorts of different succulents, just an immense amount of them. And again, a lot of these, some of these were donated by previous students. Some of these, like, let's go out and purchase plants every year, and we try and keep them and then propagate them and clone them and stuff. So we got these tons and tons of succulents here. We've got we got our raised beds over here. So my intro students, when they need to feel successful too, and it's very overwhelming class when students first come into it, because they're used to a teacher just teaching to them. And that's, I mean, I don't have time to do that. So we just, the students just kind of have to find projects, and it's a very overwhelming thing for them to begin with. And I find it takes a while for them to settle in. And that's why I like to just get them in these raised beds immediately. And you can see maybe there are some of the students are just starting to get some success there of some, looks like some squash or something like that there, maybe a pumpkin or something, zucchini, I don't know what that is yet. But so my students all, they divvy up, and there's all sorts of little growth happening. I think some radish in there and things, and got our massive philodendron right there, one of my favorite plants. I can't wait for it to start flowering again. It'll start flowering here probably just in the new year. Spring in this greenhouse happens in February. So that's when everything starts to flower in here. And then this is a project I started in June. This is one of those mammoth pumpkins. So I don't know if it's going to work out. We'll see. I do have a couple of fruits on here that have just turned yellow. So I don't know if they're going to be successful or not. We'll see. We've been trying to keep track of it. The only doors I have in and out of this greenhouse are just regular doors. So our goal with my students, like we keep saying, is to grow a pumpkin big enough that we won't be able to fit it out of here. So we've also got a pond in here, with a little waterfall back there. And then we've got our massive arid garden right there as well. So yeah, this is a constantly, we're getting a lot of support from the our district as well. My district just put in money to replace our shades. And then we also just got an upgrade on that machine in the back right over there, right there. That's industrial humidifiers. This place just basically becomes bone dry in the winter. And so we have some humidifiers that will help hopefully keep it a little bit warm, a little bit more humid in this area during the winter. And yeah, so I feel like I'm kind of in between, obviously, Stephen and Sophia right now, because I feel I'm still kind of new, but obviously I have a few things that we've now got going here that are pretty exciting. And I can't wait to see what else my students are going to do. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I do rely on grants a lot. So if you need any information, I will put a link in the chat at some point here for what I think is one of the best resources for looking at grants anyways. And then of course, applying for them is always the fun part of it too. But ACEE has a great website with just a ton of grants that are available for Albertans. And I think it would be applied to a lot of Canadians too, but especially I think it's Albertan based. So yeah, if you have any questions though, let me know.
Awesome. So ACEE, that is Alberta something for
God.
environmental education. I can't remember.
Yes, I will. Like I said, I'll head back to my classroom here and I'll put my screen down and I'll be able to interact with it better, and I'll send the link. I have it ready. So because I knew people were going to ask about grants. So I have the link ready so people can see what's available.
Super. And so Scott, how many, like it's a massive, massive greenhouse. How many students do you have like per term coming through there?
When I first came into the program, it was 60 for the year. Now I'm up to about 120. And so they're, so right now, well, I'm sorry, that's for the year. Sorry, I just realized your question ended there with per term. Right now I have 40. So right now I have 40. And then what's going to happen is next semester I have this class. So that's one class. And I have 3 levels in there. So I have introductory, intermediate, and advanced. And so they're all 3 in 1. And then next semester I will have 2 classes all afternoon. of the same thing, all three in one. So one thing I'm finding right now is I think when all the teacher changes happened before, and like we had one teacher, and I'm not disparaging anybody here, but I think everybody, whenever you have teacher changes, everyone comes with a different philosophy. And so we had a really arts heavy teacher come in here for a bit, and then we had a real science heavy teacher come in. And I'm a bit more, I guess, I'm science based for sure, but I kind of encourage the kids to do whatever they want. And I'm just starting to realize how easy that is to work with within the CTS curriculum. I have a student who just started a project last week of preserving insects. So my class kind of goes beyond the greenhouse as well. I have a 20-tree orchard out there. Can't really see it too well, but we have a 20-tree orchard out there that we maintain as well. So we do a lot more than just the greenhouse, and that's why I changed the name from horticulture to natural science. So yeah, my goal is to do like Stephen there. I really want to get involved with the green certificate program. That's one of the things I really want to get going. And then here in Edmonton, I think the way I would do that is by offering the campus EPSB. So that's on the docket. Hasn't been approved yet, but that would be the idea. Is we have campus EPSB here, and I would hope to run this 3 periods a day throughout each semester would be the goal.
Cool, very cool. So anybody that has questions, maybe get them written down so you can ask at the end. And our last presenter, Dustin, you've got the hammer, and take it away.
Hey, the neighbor just started grinding. I'm hoping it's gonna stop here. How loud is that? Too loud?
No, it's not bad. I can hear faintly in the background. It's all right.
Okay. It's loud for me. Hi everybody. Yeah, so I would say last and probably least in this case, because I am not running a greenhouse with a school at the moment. And so I'm in my backyard. I don't have like a big elaborate tour, and I really have to applaud the amazing work that our other 3 educators are doing and we're able to showcase over the last little bit. My background is education, and I have worked in greenhouses in schools, specifically Jasper Place High School, where I was for about 10 years, mostly in sciences, but I kind of got, I agreed to kind of come on board. This is early in my career. I was really trying to avoid permanent teaching contracts, and the principal said, come on and we'll do a garden. And so we worked with students, and we installed a food forest. We built an aquaponic system, and there's a little greenhouse on top of one of the biology laboratories. And so the challenge with that space is it was never really designed as a classroom space. It was really designed as a place to maybe run a couple experiments and a couple students up, and a place to grow. I remember the lab tech would grow some geraniums up there for a couple of the labs. And when I first showed up, it was more or less a storage closet, like a glazed heated storage closet. And so we did try to reclaim it, and we would fit 20 kids up in there. Definitely wouldn't be COVID friendly, but we had a lot of fun in that space. And while it wasn't, very elaborate, and it certainly used a lot of energy. I'm sure continues to use a lot of energy. Doesn't have a lot of the the features of Steve's amazing kind of climate battery there. But I can really kind of empathize. Maybe empathize isn't the right word. I can really kind of identify with what both of really what all 3 teachers have talked about in enabling students to sort of latch on to the aspects of the garden program or the greenhouse that they're really keen into. And so when you find those students who are really interested in worms, how do you set them up in such a way that they can go and run and explore worms far beyond you would ever think anybody would want to explore worms? Or if they're really into aquaponics or hydroponics, how do you enable students to to be able to run with that and give them that give them that license to do so. And I think that's a kind of a bit of a rare experience in education. Often students don't often have that liberty. And I have found that the most rewarding things that I've probably ever done with my classes or with individual kids is this kind of, encouraging them to go down this road of discovery. You never really know what they're going to find. Some of those kids, as it turns out, are still working on stuff like that. There's a past student of mine, Alex, who really kind of got into mushroom cultivation. I didn't know anything about mushroom cultivation. He was really into it, said he wanted to try some stuff out. So set him up with some tools and a little bit of time to do it. And he ended up later going to Olds to the brewing program, saw all of this spent grain coming out the back end of it and going, I bet I could grow mushrooms in there, and literally has his own business now, developed a process to be able to convert spent brewer's grain into mushrooms, which, as it turns out, breaks down the cellulose and makes it more nutritionally available. And then it becomes a high protein cattle feed. And so he's able to get paid to take the mushrooms, get paid to grow the mushrooms, or get paid to take the waste, get paid to grow the mushrooms, and then get paid to, get rid of his waste. And so, it's been really rewarding to see students kind of run with it, not just in the classroom, but actually beyond. Outside of that, I'm not at Jasper Place right now. I keep trying to resign. I keep trying to retire from teaching, but I keep getting pulled in. So I just signed a contract to do a little bit of work at the Argyle Center in Metro with some high school stuff, not specifically in the context of greenhouse programs, but I do work for Sustainable Food Edmonton on a program called Urban Ag High. And so we do provide basically kind of free consulting for schools in the Edmonton area that are working on urban agriculture projects. And so if you're just like, hey, we're looking for maybe another teacher who's doing something similar, or a source of grants, we do have some small micro grants. We'll be releasing those coming up pretty quick. And so I will post my very unwieldy email address that they created for me in the chat. Look at that, it's 2 lines. You can also track me down at dustin.bajer@gmail.com or epsb.ca. And I also, this is maybe a shameless self-promotion here, but I've been growing trees for the last 7 years, and I have a tree nursery here in the city. And I recently started a project called Shrub Scriber, which is a bit of a quirky name, bit of a mouthful, but the goal is to fund free trees for school and community projects. And so Scott and I have been able to connect recently, and we're going to swing by next week and drop off some trees for Scott. And if any other educators in the room are interested in free trees, either like, perfect, I see some good. Send me an email, send me a message. Even if you use that unwieldy one, we'll connect. I've got lots of fruit bearing stuff, but also lots of just, interesting long-lived ornamental things as well. So depending on your use and what you want to do, I could probably find a couple trees for you. They are not big. They're quite, they're 1 to sort of 4 years old, but they're easy to move, they're easy to transplant, and the subscriber community is eager to kind of get them into the hands of educators and community members. But I'm going to stop there, and we'll maybe open it up for questions, I think, for everybody. Is that the goal, Wanda?
Yep. I would say also, Dustin and Scott and I were sort of brainstorming other webinars that we could potentially host. And I thought, well, if somebody's got an idea of something that they're really passionate about, that they want to get some tips on, just let us know if there are other sorts of webinars that you would like to see. So I'll open it up to questions. So you guys, you don't have to write them in the chat. You could just unmute and ask questions. I was glad that Dustin mentioned the trees. I was gonna say about the tree program he's got going. Anybody?
Nothing.
Nothing. You guys were too awesome.
What do
covered-
what do you do over the summer there, Stephen, to keep that geodesic dome going when the students aren't there?
Great question. We have grown a program called FOG. So yeah, we're in the fog all the time, but it stands for Friends of the Greenhouse and Goats. So gardening, especially during the pandemic, became a really big thing. And because our outdoor garden has 50 raised beds and 200 fruit trees, and we advertise that we'll provide all the seeds for free and all of the fertilizer. And then on top of that, my students fundraised, and you can see it right here, drip irrigation system, so that this summer it was amazing because everything just grew like crazy in the heat as long as it had water, right? So with the drip irrigation system, it doesn't waste water, but it allows each of the beds to be watered. And the drip irrigation is set up on a smart irrigation system that you can access from your phone. So even if you went on holidays, you can access the irrigation system. And then what we also did is we started running workshops every 2 weeks in conjunction with our local library. So we would promote books and run these workshops. And that really helped generate interest. So I'm just giving you guys a quick tour of the outdoor gardens. And so we've created a small community. So there's 3 things that we've discovered through the pandemic that people want. So here is our beekeeper, Taylor. She's in her bee suit, taking care of our bees, getting them winterized. But there are 3 things that people really want. They want to know how to raise their own food. That came through really clear through the pandemic. They want to feel like they belong to a community of like-minded people. And they want to also feel like they're valued. It's very similar to what, kids want, so it's no different with adults. And so to really bring it all together, we started offering barbecues every once in a while for the community members that wanted to come together as a group. And we've had up to 11 or 12 families sign up to be part of the FOG program. I know I'm a little long-winded, but I hope that answers the question, because it's a really critical question for anybody who is going to be gardening. You do not want to be married to your garden.
Yeah, thank you.
So Steve, when you are doing these workshops, is that people are there, or is this webinars?
We did both. So
Oh.
Taylor helped out with those webinars. We also ran beekeeping workshops. And so when the lockdowns came, we just put them online and then had people sign up just like you did for this webinar. And then when the lockdowns allowed us, we would hold as many outside as we could. So, because usually the outdoor gatherings were always less restrictions than indoor gatherings.
Mm-hmm.
Want to add anything to that, Taylor? How were your beekeeping workshops?
They're pretty fun and a really interesting experience that most students don't get to have, like teaching the community when you're still in school. So I thought they're really fun, and it's nice that we're able to spread out knowledge to other people within our communities, what we already know, and actually learn from people in the community as well through feedback, as well as the knowledge they may have with like bees or gardens themselves. Yeah, I think that's pretty awesome.
Well said. One of the things that Taylor doesn't know, but because of our beekeeping program, we were able to change the bylaws of our city to now allow anybody in our city to own 2 beehives on their own property. So we're now having a lot of people showing interest, because one of the conditions is they have to take a course.
So we have the Beekeeping 101 and Beekeeping 101 2 course. I mean, not 101 2, 102 course, which basically one is like for basically the beginning of the year, one is basically for the end of the year, how to take care of your bees. And I think you only need to attend one of them, but then you still have to attend the other one to keep your bees, right? Or
No, you only have to attend one.
yeah, you only have to attend one, although it's recommended you attend both of them, because then one you learn how to actually take care of bees as well as about diseases, and the other one you learn how to winterize your bees. And so because of that, we also have a what was it called? Can't remember the word for it, but we basically a mentorship, where we are able to mentor the community members on how to take care of the bees when they buy their own bees as well, in case they don't know how to do that themselves, even through a workshop, because it's better to do it hands-on and learn rather than just read and learn.
So yeah, we actually didn't have a lot of honey this year. Instead, we put out, I think, 6-7 hives to other community members that were interested in starting their own beekeeping. So, you know, our goal is to create sustainable food systems, which is, I know, what the goal of this whole webinar is. And, you know, it takes work, but, you know, I think we're at a climax in our communities where people are wanting it and they're seeing the value of it. So I'm really grateful that you're putting this webinar on, and thank you for doing that. One other thing about Taylor, and before I let her go, is she also runs the micro business, and it's turned into a part-time job for her. So we're able to captivate and capture the student audience. That kind of answers the question previously asked about how do we capture people to take care of gardens and take care of these different activities. So, I mean, she would have run this webinar if I hadn't been here.
Oh, I mean, hopefully not, but
not run the webinar, but she would have run my part of the program.
So that I wanted to ask you about the community connection. How do you maintain because really for any of the teachers that are doing greenhouses, to have the community involved makes it more sustainable. So how have you managed to keep everybody, I guess your educational sessions and your kids going to the farmers market? But I just wonder, are there volunteers who are always coming back and forth?
Yeah, great question. We discovered quickly that we need an individual that coordinates it all. So we have a community coordinator, volunteer coordinator, and we've been playing around with different apps, and we've settled on Trello as a really great communication app. And so she just says, we are doing this workshop, or we're doing this activity today. Who's interested in coming? And then we decide whether to run the activity or not, or cancel it, depending on how many people sign up. And then the other piece is starting to get family members involved as volunteers too. And then, you know, free food. Food always brings people together. And so when we have our barbecues, we have the highest attendance in our community groups. So really cool thing about the food, you know, because food costs money as well. We have partnered with Lacombe Foundation and launched a food rescue program. And we're rescuing 600 to 700 pounds of food that would normally go into the dump. And some of that food is being used to in our barbecue every week now on Wednesday. And during the summer, we do it every 2 or 3 weeks. And so my students are volunteering at the food rescue program that distributes this food every Thursday.
Huh. I think Edmonton also has a food rescue. It strikes me that HelloFresh and another company, if they had leftovers, they have them in this one warehouse, and anybody in Edmonton can just go and get the leftovers. So that's a great food rescue operation with
Yep.
really, really good food. Mainly it's vegetables, but
Yeah, so our rescue, we're rescuing from greenhouses, what they call class 3 vegetables. So we get about 300 peppers every Thursday, and the peppers are perfectly edible, but they are tricolored or bicolored, or they're misshaped, and they're going to be thrown away. And we also get about 200 pounds of meat every other week. And the reason we get the meat is because people, when they go to the grocery store, especially the price they're paying for meat, they want it fresh. And so as soon as it's not fresh anymore, it gets frozen, and people don't want to buy frozen meat. And so instead of it being thrown away, we go and rescue it and take it to a warehouse. And then, just like Edmonton, anybody in the community can phone up or text this number, and a food hamper will be made for them. It does not matter what, where they're socially or economically situated in the community. So absolutely amazing.
yeah. And absolutely necessary. Like it shouldn't matter. Rescuing food should be the priority. All of the energy that went into producing it, there should be no food that's good, that's ready to eat, thrown out. That's
so
amazing.
On average, we're feeding about 400 to 500 individuals every week from this food as well. That's to me, that's just an amazing statistic when we come from a little city of 12,000 people.
So can I ask you, is Janet Boyd your volunteer coordinator, or is somebody else doing it now?
She certainly is. Yeah. She coordinated those videos that you recorded with my students, and she is amazing, as long as she doesn't have to go back to work. So we're always looking for assistance and people that can take up the calling, but that doesn't always happen. And so if she does end up going to work, she is looking. We will be looking for another community coordinator. It's really important in the spring and summer to have that person in place.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any other comments from anybody?
I think Cynthia had a question before. I don't know if it was answered.
Awesome. Cynthia?
Thanks, Dustin. I was just going to type it out into the chat box. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
So oh yes, there's my neighbor. I'm teaching him how to greenhouse. He's in grade 2. Grade 2 or grade 1? Grade 2. Yeah. So the question that I have for you as educators is, where are you getting the information that you need on how to run a greenhouse? Because it's a pretty complex operation. And so I'm wondering if you're noticing any gaps in information or gaps in finding sources. And then the secondary question that I have is, I work at the U of A in the Faculty of Agriculture, and I'm wondering about these students and the passion that you're building in them. Where are they finding their next step in post-secondary education?
I'll quickly answer from my experience, because I think Dusten, by the way, it's been an honor to be with the other 3 presenters, and I just wanted to echo that as well. But Olds College has been our go-to. I have nothing but amazing things to say about them. They were instrumental in getting us to be the first high school to offer a full green certificate program in the high school. So we use the green certificate curriculum, and then I supplement CTS agricultural credits intermingled within that. And that allows me to offer over 20 credits to my students that take the greenhouse program. And so the credits are really, really attractive. In fact, they're so attractive. I have about 100 students on a waiting list for my program this year. They because we're a smaller school, they won't open up more than one section each year. Anyway, that's another whole debate. And then as far as post-secondary, most of my agricultural students are either going right into the workforce. Some of them are going to the universities, and some of them are going to the Olds College or trade schools.
I'll pick up from there. So yeah, I knew nothing about greenhouses when I came into this program. So I literally just walked around and started hitting buttons and seeing what they did because I had no idea. I learned on the job. I had relied on the custodian at the school who had been here for many years. He helped me with quite a bit. And I mean, my greenhouse is a mishmash. It's like I said, I mean, it's decades old, but now there is, I didn't show you the new, I just got some new panels as well installed. So it's kind of like a mishmash of old and new technology all at once. And so yeah, no, there wasn't a lot to bank on there as far as previous knowledge or anything like that. I really kind of just winged it. And I mean, I gardened at home, but I didn't have much experience in this, which sometimes I think is a benefit too, because I learn with the students, and I'm just always, I learn from them ultimately. Like they're so amazing, some of them. And I just really am so grateful that those students, for those students that I have. As for where they land up, again, I've only been in the program 4 years, but already I'm starting to see students take this on their own and go with it. Like I have my past student there, Eric, who has just, his whole backyard is just hot peppers now. He works for Wallace Greenhouses, and they're, I think, willing to give him a little bit of space. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn there, but they think they're going to give him some space within their own greenhouse to allow him to expand upon his expertise there. And just a ton of students have let me know that they're continuing this on their own too. Like a lot of it is hobby. Like, you know, I have students going into medicine. I had the valedictorian was a major student in my course, and he's now in nuclear physics at the U of A. And so a lot of different aspects, or a lot of different ways that students go that aren't necessarily, this isn't necessarily going to be their career. Whereas I mentioned Olds College, but I don't think any of my students have gone down that road yet. But I definitely have students. I've definitely been a reference for students for working at greenhouses over the summer. Huge part of that for sure.
I echo your thoughts on, we learn with the students. I'm not an agriculture teacher either. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
Sophia, I'm wondering, were you coming into this brand new, or had you already been at the school for a while before you went to the greenhouses?
This is my 4th year at this school only, and I've been at other high schools. So this whole concept is just brand new. I've been fortunate to have Cynthia as basically my right arm, as I learn from her a lot of the stuff about growing in greenhouses. No pressure, Cynthia. And she's just such a huge wealth of knowledge, and just loves working with and having students learn about what it means to grow their own food and grow and eat healthy, and how to hone nature. And so I'm learning from her. Our students are learning, and I'm learning from them, and we're just kind of going through trial and error together. We've had some failures already with some of the hydroponic stuff, and just like and that's kind of my motto with my group of students right now. We just started it as a little bit of a club. It's our Go Green Club. But we have certain classes working on certain things. They're kind of the changing the reservoirs on the hydroponic stuff, making sure everything's kind of organized and ready to go, and kind of filling in some of the gaps that we don't have with classes right now. So those students that are interested and that are part of that tend to be the students in our school who are already leaders. They're already part of our student council team. They are ambitious and they are finding a passion in this that I don't think they knew they had before, or would have never discovered if we didn't have this opportunity. The other thing I'm noticing too is our inclusive students. They are so, when I go in, I went in there at the beginning, I said, we're going to need someone to water the greenhouse or check on the watering of the greenhouses, and I said, would anybody in here be interested? And the entire class, our entire inclusive class was so pumped to be a part of that. And so every day they come and get the little hose key and go outside and check to the water, make sure it's all good outside in the greenhouse. And so I've learned about some work experience opportunities for them in greenhouses that are available. So I'm hoping to connect some of those students there. And I think it would be a really good opportunity at some of those students who would have a hard time getting a job outside of school and likely aren't going to attend post-secondary, to understand that there are interesting things in the agricultural world that they can do that are within something that they could feel passionate about. So I'm hoping that that's kind of the trajectory, but time will tell.
Like you say, it is having those courses and the greenhouses available. People might come from families that never touch gardening, have no clue. And so, yeah, it opens doors. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's nice. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I'm also grateful to be learning from the other people on this forum, because
Yes.
my knowledge is this much, and just seeing where you guys have taken this and even come into it partway like you did, Scott, just to know that there is a full road ahead with where we
go. It would be
grow.
nice to participate in some of Steve's sessions. That would be amazing.
Yeah, we'd love to start offering them. Maybe next spring we can coordinate the virtual ones together through the Food Network. Would that be a good idea?
I think so. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
I just have a question, Steve, about your bees. Did you have to have any special permits? Because bees are something that I'm very excited about. My principal's extremely excited about wanting to implement. Did you have to get special permits to have them in the school, at a school property or anything like that?
Yeah, so what we do with all our projects, we follow a 3-year cycle. So we did what we call town halls for 2 years for our bees. And then during that 2 years of town halls, my students did a massive amount of research and put it together into a document that then we presented both the results from the town halls and all the questions that were asked and all the solutions from the town hall meetings, and then the research. We'll put it all together in a document and present it to our school board and to our city. And they surprisingly said yes, because my students did the presentation, which is a really important key. I don't know why, but adults have a harder time saying no to students than they do to adults. But what I think was really the key was the amount of research that they put together when they found out that only 2 people die in Canada from bee stings, and almost all the other stings that people die from or have allergic reactions from are wasps. And then the bees, die after they sting, and on it goes. The kids did an immense amount of work. Yeah, so we became the pilot school for Alberta. If you want any of that documentation, you can get it from us. Your issue is not going to be only your school board. You have different bylaws with different cities. I know Calgary has a pretty lenient bylaw. But I'm not sure about Edmonton. So
Okay, no, that's great to know. Thank you.
Well, Dustin, do you know? What's-
Yeah. From the city's perspective, there's not much that would be in the way that would get in the way of keeping bees on site. That being said, when you do submit a beekeeping application in the city of Edmonton, one of the requirements is that your site is 25 meters from like a school or a park or a community like a church. And I've never heard of anybody having their license turned down because they're close to a school or close to a park. But I think it's one of those things that the city of Edmonton kind of will look at on a case-by-case basis. That being said, I know of community leagues in the city that have them. So I think the biggest hurdle is getting permission from the school board. Sounds like your admin's on board. But if you can get the school board on board, then I think as Steve said, lay out maybe some of that documentations. I love the idea of having the kids do a little bit of research. I don't think it would be hard to get the city on board.
and a couple little hints. Make sure you have a location picked out that is out of sight, out of mind. We did a survey and we found out that between 60 and 70% of our students don't even know we have bees at the school. And that a lot of the staff don't know we have bees. They always think that we have bees somewhere else. So out of sight, out of mind as a location. And then we also put up a fence, as you can see, where we can keep the bees secure from teenagers that want to get careless, and so they can't get into the bee yard and just make the bees mad. And then the bees are happy if they're taken care of.
Awesome. Well, folks, we've blown past 5 o'clock. If there are any last minute questions, although you do have everybody's email now, so you could just fire them off to, it's nice to make Cynthia's
And the hive.
because I think it's a connection with U of A would be great in the forestry. Anyway, thank you again to our speakers. That was really, really informative. And look forward to our next webinar.